Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm gonna be reviewing the 13th episode of season 4 of The Walking Dead, Alone. So yeah, Alone. This is not gonna be a review for the webisode, from the Oath, story arc. I believe it's the Oath story arc, which is a webisode also Walking Dead. No, this is gonna be for, again, 13th episode of season 4 of The Walking Dead, Alone. Um, not gonna be reviewing the webisodes. Not likely till maybe the next one comes out. I don't know, but whatever. TV show, not webisodes. I'm gonna, say that beforehand. So yeah, pretty interesting episode. So yeah, before I actually do, the usual quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and rate. Sorry. I'm gonna let you guys who haven't seen the episode for whatever reason to, get off the video and go watch something else. Hopefully the episode. So a couple seconds starting now. So yeah, 10 seconds as usual. Already gave it to you, so don't comment below, saying I never gave you a chance to leave the video or something like that. Because I actually didn't. I give you a fair warning. So yeah. As usual, quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and the rate. So in this episode, we only saw, well, the majority of the episode, was shifted around, shifted between the groups of Daryl and Beth and Maggie, Bob, and Sasha. For Daryl and Beth, which, in my opinion, is the more interesting group for this episode. Better direction than they had for the last episode. Watch my review right there for those who want to check it out. Better direction for their group. Basically, Daryl, is teaching Beth how to survive a bit more. Shooting and stuff like that. And they kind of stumble upon this funeral home or funeral parlor, however you say it. You have the cemetery and then you have the funeral parlor. They go inside and um, they're they're searching for supplies and stuff, and you see a few interesting things. First off, there seems to be like no dust on the supplies. Like some of the food they found seems to be well kept, neat. Neat. There's no dust, and the house overall seems to be well kept. Also, you see um, three bodies, zombified bodies, already dead zombified bodies. The interesting thing about them is that they seemed as if they were gonna be about to be buried or something like that. And Beth says, don't you think it's beautiful, to Daryl, and he's like, whatever. Um, Pretty interesting. To see, someone's trying to have some kind of funeral. Oh well, what we consider a funeral at this moment in the zombie apocalypse. Meaning, in the zombie apocalypse, what I would consider a funeral is, shoot your heads off, and maybe if I could bury you, I would. But shoot your heads off and maybe leave a flower by by your body if I can. Just mostly destroy the brain so you don't come back. That's my funeral. In the zombie apocalypse. But really, whoever was in that house beforehand, before Daryl and Beth, seemed to consider a funeral as what we consider it now, with huge events and whatnot. So besides the point, they find three bodies that seem to have seem to get their own funeral, if that makes sense, whatever. And the food's not really dusted. You also have this not mutt, dog, which Daryl calls a mutt at one point. That comes once and is heard twice. Pretty interesting to still see dogs in the zombie apocalypse. I mean, we have seen them every here and there. I mean, we saw a dog in the two dogs in the first season. I think in that first season, 2 or 3 dogs in the first season. Well, five or six if you include the ones with the battles. But besides the point, we saw two more dogs earlier this season. I think this is the third dog and like 10th overall. Um, 11th actually, because there's one in Woodbury, or was one in Woodbury. But besides the point. So they had this dog that was coming, where this dog come from, granted, it is a zombie apocalypse, probably ran away at some point, to escape and surviving and whatnot, so, whatever. Then you have some pretty good scenes with Daryl. He's fighting off this horde of zombies, and he's kind of backed against this wall. He has one of those tables where they put the bodies in, so, they could dissect them and whatnot. I think it's dissecting them, not really dissecting their guts, but like taking out the water and whatnot. He's using that as protection, and he really makes a drastic move and goes under the table after killing a few zombies, and tries to get out the room, and he eventually and he basically told not Daryl, Beth. Daryl told Beth, during those events, to get your shit, was it get your shit and get out, and she's like, I'm not leaving you. He was like, just get out. And she does that, seemingly. Daryl eventually does get out. And then we see Beth's things on the ground and a car driving off, which we haven't seen before. Unknown car. And Daryl is basically trying to go after it. And, yeah. Then towards the end of the episode for Daryl's group, Daryl, we still have Maggie, Sasha, and Bob. But for Daryl's group, or Daryl at this point, we see him laying on the ground on the street by the these train tracks, and this group comes upon him or crosses his path, or whatever. And surprisingly, it's the same group that was in the house where Rick was 2 or 3 episodes ago. You have this guy, played by Jeff Krober or something like that. Pretty well-known actor in the television business, I guess. And he says this very creepy line. Daryl punches him, and he's like, look around. He basically says something like, look around. If you're gonna kill me, my friends are gonna kill you over, more than once or something like that. But the one line I really do remember is, why hurt me? I think it was, why hurt me, or why hurt yourself when you could hurt others? And that was really creepy. One of the best lines so far of season 4. I think the whole series overall. I don't know. Reevaluate that list later. But damn, that was a very creepy line. And yeah. Eventually it seems like Daryl is in that group, and yeah, that's it. Well, for Daryl's group. Okay, now on the other side, the flip side, you have Maggie, Sasha, and Bob. Maggie, Bob, and Sasha, they're fending off a couple walkers in the fog, and they eventually set up camp. Maggie, well, I won't exactly say she runs away, but she separates from Bob and Sasha, and in order to find Glenn and the Terminus, well, yeah, they eventually come across the Terminus signs and decide to go to Terminus. They camp out one night, and then Maggie's gone. Assuming she's going to Terminus and leaving signs for Glenn, which she does. She dissects a walker and puts a message: Glenn, go to Terminus, Maggie. Pretty cool, somewhat. So yeah, you have Bob and Sasha, pretty cool character development out of them, especially Bob. I think one of my favorite episodes that has Bob in it. Bob and Sasha kiss. Pretty interesting. You basically have both Maggie and Bob telling Sasha, not to be afraid, and you are afraid, so don't be afraid, or something like that. And yeah, eventually, the three of them separate for a little while. Maggie was, at the moment, we didn't know where she was. Sasha and Bob separate, saying Sasha wants to play, a place to rest, while Bob wants to keep searching for Maggie. And yeah, eventually Sasha eventually does realize how what a horrible decision she decided to do, separating from Bob, and she notices Maggie out the window. Um, so she goes to save Maggie. You have some pretty cool walker kills, and then they eventually reunite with Bob, and then towards the very end of the episode, you have a quick glimpse, maybe 5, no more than 10 seconds, of Glenn looking at a terminus map. And that's it. That's it. Just Glenn. Yeah. The end. Whatever. Pretty dense episode, in my opinion. Especially Daryl and Beth. I think the characters that really came out in this episode really had the most character development were Bob and Sasha, especially Bob. I honestly think this is the best episode Bob has ever been, and especially like the flashback at the beginning of the episode, in the before the credit scenes, we have him being alone. Being alone, he seems to have been wandering around in the forest, and he's eventually found by Daryl and Glenn. They ask the 3 questions, and he goes happy. That's it. Pretty cool to see those flashback, especially from Bob. And I kind of noticed they've been doing that a bit more. You had the same thing with Michonne earlier this season, so that was pretty cool. I really do like the flashbacks. I really do like how Daryl and Beth were handled better in this episode compared to the last episode, so that was also good. That's a pretty interesting turn of events. Beryl and Beryl. No. Beth kidnapped, and then Daryl joined the somewhat antagonistic group at the moment. And yeah, he seems to fit right in. You have these biker, redneck type of, guys. He's gonna fit almost right in. So yeah. The writing, the acting, that was good. So yeah, the zombie kills were amazing, especially the one with Daryl. He's backed against the wall. He has the platform right there, the table or whatnot, gurney, and he's just stabbing walkers with whatever he can find from the morgue or whatever. That's pretty cool. We saw a few more different locations. A cemetery and the morgue. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, for Maggie's group, some interesting character development for them. Sasha and Bob, seems that they're in a relationship now, so that's good. Yeah. Not really much I could complain about this episode. So yeah. So from what I can complain, the only really thing I really don't like is the way they kind of treated Maggie's group, specifically Maggie. She didn't have great direction in this episode. I don't know. Maggie's really the only character I had a problem with in this episode. She seemed different, in my opinion. And not good type of different. So really, that's all I can say as for any complaints. As for the rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being best, and 6 being decent, 8 is what I would rate this episode. So yeah, now in the comments below, give your thoughts out on this episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? More than 8? Less than 8? Note your thoughts down in the comments comment section. Remember to check out the channel. I also do other Walking Dead videos. I also do some Walking Dead discussion videos. I have one coming up on who kidnapped Beth, so that'd be pretty interesting. Yeah, I also review movies, TV shows, other TV shows, and comics. Some of The Walking Dead, some aren't The Walking Dead for the comics. So definitely stay tuned for that. Remember to share on Facebook, Twitter, or MySpace, or whatever you guys prefer. And that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart signing off. Said Daniel Mart. Mart, M-A-R-T. Daniel Mart signing off.